the standard.
Yeah, well, okay, no Xerath ban out yet. Kha'Zix is in addition to
Xerath
it, though.
is open.
So is Irelia. I feel like Trick probably have to pick up Irelia here to take it away. No, they want the Corki, so they are swapping up from Caitlyn.
Yes, so that's finally a change we're seeing here now for Shiner, making sure he can play something different. But in Faculty going with, again, nothing too crazy, just what we expected from them. Ooh. A very early Jarvan pick. But they lock in the Orianna too, so that is a quick and early mid lane that they really feel is important. And if, as we mentioned, it's because they only have a small things they feel comfortable playing against Tyranids' Xerath. Could Trick now use that to their advantage and pick something to counter this Orianna? It was Ari last time round, but that did not go very well.
So Xerath and Orianna is once again a skill matchup, but Jarvan changes the dynamic of that so much, because Jarvan provides the all-in engage for an immobile champion like Xerath, who, when playing against with full engage, just is able to obliterate him in team fights. As soon as Xerath slows down to start casting his abilities, Jarvan jumps on him, Cataclysm, Shockwave, Xerath's gone off the map, and there goes your top pick. There goes your, this is what you've banned out for the last 2 games, this is why we want to play it.
Now, you said you wanted something crazy. You said you wanted something different. It's not crazy, but it's not unheard of. Xerath Rengar is another common combination. No. It's not what we're going to see here. We've got a Lee Sin lock-in, and that Sona again, who's become very highly contested in these last couple of days as a very early pick support for Trick.
Yeah, and now they're waiting on the top laners for now. Well, this is something we saw in Game 1 and Game 2. Top lane is going to be the last lock-in, but somebody's got to pick up Irelia sometime soon.
Toying with that. I wasn't sure of that.
You could go crazy and not pick
in fact,
Irelia.
we have that advantage again. They can leave their top lane until the very, very end. Pick their bottom lane combo now. They know exactly what they're up against, Corki and Sona, so they can pick exactly what they want to put up against that and put down in that bottom lane and just take the Irelia or take a counter later on. But when you say Irelia is it, and what do you counter Irelia with?
There's not a lot of options.
You can't wait that long. So they've hovered over it. They're hovering over the Nami as well. They can grab themselves whatever they want. Probably the Lucian is an AD carry. Lucian Nami strong, and that Irelia is also locked. So this team from Factory right now already looks very, very strong.
Yeah, do you go for the Malphite again, though? Is that what you opt for? Or the other option is, do you go for a bigger picture? Do you look for something that could look to lane swap? Is that an option? How comfortable a trick like that? It's not a current meta style that you would normally pick, but you know, what do you set up here? The other champion that we've heard rumblings of coming through is Jax. Not expecting to see him completely picked into this situation, but as for late game scaling, if you were looking to maybe play a wider game and get Jax into the late game, that could perhaps be an option. His laning phase not as good as it was anymore, but they've run out of options. They've run out of standard options to pick from. This has to be something that Babunia says, I'm comfortable playing this through all passages of play.
And you mentioned how it is all or nothing now for these guys. It's you out here, that's your LCS hopes done now until summertime. So it is the time to try something truly crazy like the Jax. They have locked a Mundo instead, though. So it's not that, but Tyranids is back on his Ari.
Yeah.
I have more faith than I do, I'll admit.
He hovered the Xerath.
He did hover the Xerath. He thought about it, he wanted the idea of it, but they're not willing to put that through yet. And Ari, to be honest, fits this comp a hell of a lot better. Lee Sin's going to go deep. Mundo's just going to run at you. Xerath is a long way back, and with those two champions running the other way, it doesn't really have much to protect him.
Yeah, Mundo we saw pretty much through the entire 2014 season. It was just commonly picked, but hasn't been picked so much recently because he's just such a passive laner. It doesn't really do too much, but this could go into a very mobile kind of matchup. If Babunia purposefully wants to dodge, Mundo is a champion that they could look to put in a semi-roaming spot at the beginning of the game, like we saw with the roaming top laners along with the jungle. Could do that, not expecting it too much, but he might get pressured a lot by Xaxus.
The one thing that you do get from Mundo, though, that you get far less from the Maokais and the Malphites, is he does a deceptively large amount of damage. Has a really strong, actually, early game. Which is when Irelia is strong in those pre-5 and 6 levels. So with a Lee Sin to back him up, if they could pull that off and get something going up top, perhaps keep Xaxus behind for a little bit longer than before, then Mundo becomes the unstoppable, tanky, movable force.
Yeah.
And they may have a better time, at the very least, just holding Xaxos off in the lanes than Malphite did.
And it's another pick that's going to go well when they start grouping in the mid lane. You look at Sona, Corki, Ahri, all have heavy poke. The cleavers, you already alluded to, a lot of damage. So it synergizes well with that kind of setup. But all in engage is the name of the game from N Faculty.
So they have got that beautiful Orianna and Jarvan combination again, that ball delivery system that we've seen time and time again from teams. Question is, can they pull off that Shockwave combination? We've seen so many Shockwaves in this very series, actually, completely missing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we've seen 2 and 3 and 4-man explosions that have won fights in an instant. So what is SozPerfect going to pull out this time around? You guys let us know. At LOL eSports on Twitter, of course, to talk directly at us. Hashtag LCS expansion to talk to anyone that's listening. We're going to be watching it. I'm going to be watching it and joining in, looking at your predictions, looking at your chats on there. And, of course, any other fans that are watching. Make friends. This is a community that everyone loves the same thing, and it's League of Legends eSports. So talk to everyone else.
Yeah, and this is a very important time for League of Legends in general, because we used to have only 8 teams at the highest echelon of each region. Now we're going up to 10.
You know, both NA and EU, it's going to be huge changes all around. It's a huge expansion. There's a lot of changes coming in both the game with Season 5 and the LCS with these extra teams. But we've still got to find out who they're going to be. So there you have it on your screens for the last time today. Tricked eSports versus N Faculty. These guys are down to blank slates, level footing, best of one mindset, so to speak. This game means everything to them. And unsurprisingly, they're starting off very cautiously at level 1.
It's going to be a repeat. I mean, it's not a surprise at all. This is the last we'll see of these teams today. Thankfully, though, we have so many more games to bring you. And if every set goes to 3 games, I'm going to be over the moon, because there is nothing better.
I think I might just pass out.
Hey, if they're all base races like we saw earlier, I might be right there with you.
Couple of remote spams, of course, and there are those very standard wars, just making sure there's nothing cheesy taking place in the first minute or so of the game. We did now last time around, of course, see that aggressive ward coming out from a faculty onto Trick's red buff, so they could track where the Jarvan was. This time around, neither team's looking to do the same thing, so jungler's going relatively untracked for the first 3 minutes.
This jungle matchup, though, is the inverse of the first game's jungle matchup. We saw Mouth, if you remember, managed to get a decent trade with Obvious, I believe it was, in that at the start. No, it was the other way around. Mouth looked for the engage, and Orianna followed him in. So we'll see whether that kind of misplay is going to happen again in this game.
Now, it was, of course, of Mouth being caught out in his own jungle by the Lee Sin.
Yeah.
Now, this time, Obvious, while he may want to do a similar thing, isn't going to trade that quite so well. Lee Sin in these early levels is far better at 1v1ing a target than Jarvan. Jarvan, yes, has that initial burst, especially if you can land the knock-up in the cadence, but Lee Sin has a much better drawn-out, prolonged fight in that situation. So we'll see if Malworth is, one, any good at it, two, if he even looks for going to those kind of invades. Now,
down in the bottom lane, we once again have the Nami-Sona matchup, who it's all about sustain down here, and Cedrian is going to need some of it.
Yeah, taking quite a bit of burst, but again, doing slightly better in the creep game, but only ever so minorly. Yeah. They're going to hit level 2 at very similar points as things stand. All depends on how this next wave of creeps goes, but even then, even if they hit 2 first, in fact, he can't go aggressive now because they just don't have the health.
Yeah, they've taken too many of those phosphorus bombs onto Cedrian, and unless they get the good double bounce from Nami, they're not really healing up all that well. So it's an even lane so far to begin this. Corki ever so slightly ahead on CS though.
Oh, Bubble just about itches past, but now he's dashed forward aggressively, takes a big phosphorus bomb to the face. And Faculty not doing very well with that trade.
No, and the Corki has been the high pick champion here in a number of games. First picked in both this game and last, but take a look at the junglers. Malworth knows what Obvious could be doing.
They're looking to run straight into each other, but the Sonic Wave won't land. That could have been disastrous for one of them, most likely for Obvious, because it was far closer to the Trick lineup and much quicker for their team to get there and back him up. So he immediately turned tail and ran. Now he's looking for an opening somewhere else. He did get spotted, however, in that ward on the river bush. So Tira just turned back and played it very safe till he sees him leave. And of course pinged it to let the rest of his team know what's up and where that Jarvan is. Let's look at the top lane then. That's our changed matchup for the day. That's one that we haven't seen before. Irelia versus Mundo. Talk us through it, because it's going to be quite a while, I think, since a lot of people have seen this.
Yeah, I mean, Mundo is a very passive laner compared to Irelia. There's a reason why you see a fair amount of obscure champions picked into Mundo, where you can just survive the laning phase. So Zaz shouldn't have too much trouble here. The problem with Mundo, though, is that he's going to get incredibly tanky throughout the entire game. And once you get later and later, the engage that's going to come from End Faculty, the Cataclysm Shockwave, is not going to touch Mundo as much. And he's just kind of going to walk around inside the Cataclysm wherever he pleases and just deal out a ton of damage and just protect everything that Tricked have as their backline. So they've got to try and shut Babunia out of this game a little bit earlier on.
So I'd like to see at the level 5-6 point, Jarvan heads top to help her really get that first kill. Because she's not very strong beforehand, but as she approaches that point, she gets a burst. And it is what she's doing now. She's level 4, she's got a big wave of creeps coming this way. That possibly give Babunia the confidence to take a fight, of course, having those minions to support him. What he doesn't realize is that Xaxus has a Jarvan to support him. Babunia uses this, okay, I gotta push, gotta ward the river, make sure I don't get ganked. But it may not be enough.
Yeah, it may not be enough. He's positioned close. He engages.
Stun goes in. Knockup follows up. Jarvan comes out of the bush. Doesn't have a red buff anymore, though. And that means Babunia can just flash to safety. But that summoner is now down.
One thing I want to note is I was looking at Obvious's positioning during that as well. Sorry, Maweth's positioning during that. As soon as Obvious showed in the top lane, Maweth stopped dead in his tracks, was looking to perhaps try and force a gank in mid, and actually recalls because he knew he had the time and could head back for that Sightstone to get extra vision on the map.
Yeah, so it's going to give him a lot of extra control and a bit of mobility.
Not only
but it's a
that,
very, very passive start. It's not like the longswords to give him damage.
Yeah, that was what I was going to pick on.
It's not combat stats in any way.
He's gone so early on onto the vision game, and that is one thing that Tricked have been very good with so far. So that is going to give them the ability to track, but not level 6 yet.
Babunia might be in a lot of trouble here. Flash forward from Xaxus for one more auto attack, but the regen, is it enough to keep Babunia alive? Oh, Xaxus, that was incredibly unlucky.
Oh man, Xaxus just did not have the cooldown on his Q to dart forward, and that is unlucky play there for Xaxus. Babunia goes back, gets all of his health back, picks up a Giant's Belt as well at the same time and heads back. But maybe it's round 2 down in the bottom lane for Obvious. He's looking for this gank. Look at the health, it's already quite low. The bubble!
The bubble lands, the knockup follows, and it's first blood for End Faculty.
Oh, the nice bubble. Mountain just lands the bubble they need. That is a very easy pickup there. However, mid lane, could we see the answer? Tyrannus is looking perhaps to engage with Maweth here on Sus Perfect, but
I don't think they will, simply because of that item choice.
Same.
If he had double longswords, yeah, that could be a lot. But with a Sightstone,
yeah,
he may just end up losing himself to the turret.
Not a lot of damage without those extra longswords. And something I want to take a little bit of a moment on from that engage in top. Xaxus kind of had to tidy up the lane after using his flash to try and make sure that when Babunia teleported back in, he wasn't at too much of a disadvantage. You can see Babunia trying to force Xaxus into his own tower. But Xaxus is way behind now on his item breakpoint, and Xaxus is going to have to go back and teleport. And there's going to be a big cooldown, or a big difference between the cooldowns on teleport, where Babunia is going to have a solid minute where he's going to have his teleport available for a potential dragon, and Xaxus will not.
We in fact see, speaking of such a dragon, roam from both Sona and Lee Sin now deep into enemy territory to get control of the blue buff. Now this of course gives the blue buff itself, because they know roughly where Jarvan started, predicted that he went to red first because of course they saw him top with only the blue buff up, thus they know the red was the first one taken, and they saw them try that last, or we saw rather in Faculty try that last time around. Didn't work out for them, Kha'Zix was spotted, but let's see if Trick can do it any better. 1, stealing the blue buff is a win. 2, getting anyone around that might open up the dragon. And this time around, they may just see Obvious straight up in the top lane. They do in fact see him because he's on a ward.
Yeah, Sadism was popped as well, so Babunia, knowing that he was around, just says, okay, well, I'm going to have full health when you come into this, and Xaxus hasn't been back to buy still, so you don't really have a lot of damage between you two.
That's exactly why Jarvan is here. Xaxus is like, I can't base right now, this guy is pushing too hard.
Yeah.
I need your help to come and do something.
But that also means with Babunia on such high health, they just probably don't have the damage to actually take him down.
They don't need to kill him. Look, you can see that Irelia has now base, but just by being there, Jarvan meant that Mundo had to play so passively and away from the creeps that Irelia could push it up as far as she needed to, and then base and teleport back.
Yeah, but this is an aggressive teleport.
So that's even a longer cooldown disparity between the teleports now, because she doesn't have that reduced thanks to using the tower.
Yeah, exactly. But meanwhile, in the bottom lane, we did see another trade that Cedrian dropped pretty low from, and you have to wonder that a kill here in this bottom lane in the next minute or so would really make for an easy dragon from either of these teams. No teleports available on either top laner yet, but that difference in cooldown is going to be there between Babunia and Xaxis that you talked about.
But the thing is, now I think about it, Mundo saw that that's why, in fact, sorry, it's Adrian going very aggressive. The Culling comes out, forces the Valkyrie, but it's still doing damage, and the Summoner heal is needed to keep Shiner alive.
Big engage down in that bottom lane. That's going to force China back. And what can they get from this? What?
They're going to do a lot of damage onto the turret. They could. No, Maweth's on the wrong side. Sorry, Obvious is on the wrong side of the jungle to rush down a dragon. And Maweth is nearby, and getting on a couple of pink wards has now been spotted too. So ultimately, they don't gain a whole huge amount. It's just a little bit of an experience and creep advantage from pushing Corki out of lane and burning a summon.
Back up to this top lane. Babunia and Xaxis are just trading away, but the longer this goes for Babunia, the tankier he is going to get. How much gold is he set on right now? 1,200 currently, but mid lane.
Ooh, Tyradus has to use his Spirit Rush a little bit defensively. He's got the Ignite down onto Sol's Perfect, but he can't keep going because Shockwave and Ignite is still up for Orianna. There's out one more charm, but there's still far too much range on it for Sol's Perfect to really be worried about. And now that that charm, oh sorry, not charm, that ultimate is down. Someone was not paying attention to the way they were running. And now Maweth might in fact be knocked up, forced to flash away from Jarvan, has to kick in before he can Cataclysm, but that's a lot of abilities burned with Ahri ult down and flash on Lee Sin that could mean devastating things if they try and fight this dragon, and Faculty know it. So they start to pull it and start it already.
The teleport is available for Bunia. They've reached this point though. This could be a pressured out dragon here, but Tyradus I think is doing the right thing here, looking for the mid tower at the same time. And Tyradus' matchup is going way better for him this game. 107 CS to 81 currently is not what you'd expect from this matchup this early on.
No, and especially when we saw it the other way around, when Tyradus was on the Orianna, he had a far better time against Sol's Perfect's Ahri. So it's definitely not for him. He does land a nice good charm, and that's a lot of damage right at the tip of there. He has just picked up a needlessly large rod, which is why. Need to be careful as Sol's Perfect. Make sure he doesn't catch too many more of those charms in the near-distant future, because Jarvan is on the prowl. He has got himself his Elder Lizard up now, and is looking to try and make a kill out of it.
Arden Blaze spots him out. No surprise catch there from Tricked. Remember, Flash Crescendo is a big engage point in this bottom lane that if they choose to use, would easily catch Cedrian out.
I want to now ask the teams very nicely if I can explain my point about Irelia and Maokai's teleports without them fighting again. Mundo didn't start pushing the lane as soon as Irelia backed. Irelia realized this, therefore if you teleported to the turret, he could have been risked a freeze, could have been risked being kept out. He had to get back to that mini live as quick as possible and push it into tower to stop that freeze, to stop Mundo holding it in place. So he had to risk that extra cooldown, and ultimately it hasn't come back to punish the team too much because Mundo's just used his back to the turret again, and Xaxis will be back up soon.
It was a pretty smart read, of course, knowing that Babunia hadn't yet finished his Sunfire Cape. That's not something you can now do on Mundo. Now he's got that item that is going to deal damage periodically to everything around him. So no more freezing for you, Mundo.
Yes. Or if he does, it's going to be incredibly hard. He's going to do the whole thing from a distance with cleavers only, which would be quite an achievement. But we did see the first turret of the game going down. We did see Tricked eSports picking that up in the mid lane. Ahri managed to finish that off thanks to the dragon play from earlier on. But it's not opened too much up for them yet. They've still got a surround of complete ward coverage for Faculty, and they have to make their way through that before they can go any deeper into the red team jungle.
Babunia is pushed up, though, very far against Xaxis, so now is his time to just continue being aggressive. He's got the Sunfire Cape, no Trinity Force yet on Xaxis, so he knows he, for now at least, has the ability to trade. But there's a lot of action in the jungle. Tyradus trying to steal away the Wraiths, but with two members of Faculty there, honestly, I don't think races are worth it at that point.
I mean, it was a little bit of a risk, yes, but he had plenty of distance between. He had wards around the other side. He knew those two members, in fact, he would not be able to get on top of him with his Spirit Rush and anything like that. But are you really wanting to take those kind of risks at this stage in a tournament like this with so much on the line? Maweth does, and we do see a flash from Cedrian to keep himself alive. So Summoner's being burned in that bottom lane. Could open them up for something else a little bit later on.
Good game.
Wow, it gives obviously opportunities to steal away a blue buff.
Yeah, they get the Summoner, but is it worth the blue buff going down? Gonna have to see who can kind of convert that advantage in the coming minutes, because if they don't manage to take Cedrian down before that flash comes up, that was a little bit of an imbalance towards End Faculty there, as they will take away that buff.
Yeah, Soul's perfect off EF and taking the full long way around to dodge out that Charm and Ari, as they knew that he went to blue, sorry. There's just nothing he could do about it. He has got his own blue buff up there, so we'll see if there's any kind of play from Trick to try and take that instead. They did have Sona just roam all the way through that jungle and plant a lot of aggressive wards again, so they have got vision around it if they so wish, and Tyradus is looking for any opening to dive onto Orianna to get that 1v1 kill again.
He's been pinged though, so I'm pretty sure they know he's there, or at least around this area.
Yep,
there we go. One thing I want to pick up on is just how late Lee Sin's Spirit of the Elder is.
Oh, he goes in anyway. The Charm hits, and everything else follows up. Soz Perfect drops. Tyradus' patience pays off.
It does, and a little bit of a lapse in judgment there by End Faculty. Soz Perfect pinged, put down the ball, knew that Ari was there, and still goes in.
He pinged, he put it in the bush, saw him come in. Saw him leave,
yeah.
Never saw him come out the other side. Charm again onto Obvious this time around. Tyradus is getting so many free crowd controls off, but this time he hasn't got the damage to get the kill with no Ignite or Ultimate. But in Faculty, open your eyes a little bit, guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar to
that. Speaking of that, Xaxus is coming around behind. He gets the Charm and the reset, but he catches the Charm to the face, taking so much damage. Now Maweth is there, so he's in full retreat, but Obvious is here to back him up, and that stops the Trick's chase.
That felt a little bit reminiscent of Game 1, where the pink ward went down and they kind of just all walked into it and said, hey, I'll clear it out. It's, you know, a nice, easy pink ward to take down. But, yeah, as you said, just maybe a little bit of awareness missing there, because, okay, Ari disappeared, but she's still Ari. She can still cover a lot of ground very quickly. And the high likelihood is if she was standing randomly in your jungle, she's probably warded out that area and is looking for a pick. So
bottom lane, we see the Crescendo use. It does only catch on Cedrian, but in response, we see a tidal wave onto Shiner, and neither one of the AD carries drops. But there is a health advantage now for Tricked, a little wait. Just a little bit of action, but nothing to break them separate apart. And to be honest, it goes for the whole game. Nothing too much to break either team apart. 1 kill apiece, and the gold is near identical. It's just that one tower in favor of Tricked in that middle lane. Now, waiting for that big opener, but again, while there's little scraps here and there, no team really wants to commit too far because they know what's at stake, they know what's on the line.
We may see a commit here, though. Obvious is in the bottom lane. Maweth is around, but it's pushing a little too much for Obvious. He doesn't feel comfortable going under turret, and that is a good read.
Yeah, both junglers nearby. Both of them thinking so alike right now. Tyradus, like what he's doing in this game, to be honest. I know I gave him a lot of flack for the last one, but he is being far more proactive with his Arya this time around in those two little sits in the jungle. In this very same one again, looking for another pick. He's got that ward on Jarvan. If he can get it, waiting for him to go that bit further around. Jarvan stops and turns. No real idea why. They didn't ping it, knowing the suspicion, just decided he wants to stay towards the bottom half instead. But that would make sense as the dragon has respawned.
Yeah, I was going to say, if Tyradus can get a pick here, that would open up the dragon completely for Tricked, and there's a lot of damage in the bottom lane.
Cedrian takes a full burst again from both Corki and Sona, but with no Crescendo up this time around, they couldn't really make it stick. But in doing that, that has allowed Maweth to get a bit of vision control around the dragon and opened it up for Tricked. And starting it off very, very quickly, and now in fact he has to close in. It's down to 2/3 health. Teleport coming down from Faculty. But Nu goes behind. The bubble's a bit too seen, but he's trying to do what he can. He's got the sadism running to get as much health there, but the dragon goes down to Lee Sin. Now Cedrian's low, but they're trying to finish off Babunia, but so much damage onto Obvious. Shockwave hits 2, but Sona's the first one to fall. Now Tyradus is on the run from the Orianna chasing. The bubble will hit Babunia, and he drops. Lee Sin has been caught out by Soz Perfect, and it's a 3-for-0 exchange in favor of Faculty even though Trick took the Dragon.
And that's about an even trade overall.
Are they trying to rush a Baron?
Are you going to Baron right now? I mean, they have 20 seconds on Babunia, no chance of a teleport, 10 seconds on Maweth as well, and the Smite is still available for Obvious. This could be a massive
it's free.
power
They're not even
play.
going to try and contest it. This is a great play from Faculty and a really nice call.
18 minutes in, and Faculty read the game perfectly. They don't look for a tower or anything small. They want a big advantage heading into this mid-game.
Very, very nicely done. 18-minute Baron for Faculty. When I was talking about nothing to really separate these teams, they went and proved me very, very wrong. Now, 4 kills to 1, only a 2,000 or about 1,500 gold difference, but with the stats you get from the Baron at this point in the game, they have such a huge spike to play with for the next 4 minutes.
And with their team fighting composition, yes, they're going up against a very mid-game focused team, but that is a massive bunch of stats that they have just picked up from the Baron buff. That could be enough to have them fight through this mid-game fairly comfortably against such a mid-game focused team. And look at Tricked. They're keeping 1,600 gold currently on China. He has to back away after this turret, but they recognize they need something here to offset some of the gold difference. They will get the turret. He is going to back away, but that had to be done. And I mean, it's just kind of fortunate that Faculty couldn't really stop that from happening.
Yeah, they knew that something needed. They knew they had to just get something back for that Dragon. They tried pushing Ari up mid. Couldn't get anything there. So they grabbed that bot instead. But Babunia now going for another Giant spell.
And not only that, but take a look down at China's items. He just picked up himself a big spike of AD, which is a departure from what we'd normally see from Corki. Typically, that mid-game spike comes from the Trinity Force alongside the Sorcerer's Shoes to give that phosphorus bomb damage.
Oh, they're going to chase him. Babunia. The slows come out, Cedrian and Nami passive, but he pops that sadism and runs away. But he still took a lot of damage from that Lucian there, who has a Brutalizer Infinity Edge, and I love that Brutalizer pickup. To synergize it straight in there with the Baron buff, just pushing back as big of an advantage right now as possible, rather than waiting for a long, slow one and an expensive Last Whisper.
Yeah, exactly, and it's going to synergize so well.
It would, of course, go to a Ghost Blade, but it's better than going for the average blade part of it first.
Yeah, exactly. It's even better, especially in this kind of circumstance. So what are Faculty... And well, what do Faculty want to do next? Top lane is their next objective.
Yeah, because Babunia was down in the bottom lane and gave Xaxus free time in the top lane again, just like we saw in the last game. Xaxus getting a free time in a lane on Irelia, resulting in lots of objectives being picked up from Faculty. This time it's a tower, but we've got both members, or both 4-team squads now of both teams sitting in this middle lane. Only the top lane is a separate, and there's a teleport timing damn near identical on both of them, so they can't join in this just yet. But Xaxus is definitely the one in the driving seat, applying a lot of pressure to Babunia's Mundo, while his team are trying to do the same thing in that mid lane, applying the pressure to that turret. Xaxus is actually chasing Babunia down in the top lane to about half health at the moment. So Babunia really is hurting every time Xaxus decides to turn it on. And now that he's got that Spectre's Cal, the magic damage that Mundo's returning isn't really a whole lot.
The problem is, meanwhile, the mid lane Faculty don't really have the wave clear here to push into the turret. Look at how little damage it's taken already. They have to get fairly close because of Lucian's low. Ooh, wow, that'll do it.
Gets burst, and he has to use that ultimate to get away, otherwise the shockwave could have finished him off. And there is that turret pickup. That little bit of patience really helped him Faculty grab.
Babunia has to be patient here as well. He can't be baited into an engage with Xaxus as the rest of Faculty are heading around top. How much gold is he on? He must be close, yeah, to finishing that Warmog's armor, which he is fairly close to. But it's not in time to help this turret stay up, and he needs that as a large part of his tank stats when he wants to be that front line.
So 2 turrets picked up then from Faculty with that Baron. Got to be very happy with that, and now a 4,000 gold lead has opened up because of it. 4 turrets to 2, though, isn't the biggest margin, and Tricked, to be honest, probably got to be quite happy with that. Losing just 2 turrets to the Baron and that spike and the way that went there could have been a hell of a lot worse for them.
It could have been. Baron has now worn off, though. That is something to look at. That Faculty don't have that extra bunch of stats that you know, translates to a little bit more gold efficiency for everything that you have on your lineup. But Tyrannus is going to the well once again. This play has worked out a couple of times for him.
So Well, you normally say, all right, Baron's one off, next one's coming up in 3 minutes. Now we'll look for them to get vision control, look for them to dance around it, look for them to get that next opening and catch someone out to grab the next Baron. That one was so early that I don't think they're going to touch it anymore.
No.
They're just going to leave it. They're just going to back away and go back to playing a normal 23-minute point game, which has no Baron thoughts at all. So we'll be interested to see exactly how they settle into this now that there's so many extra turrets down in that top half of the map.
Tyradus was there for a long time, and look at how scared End Faculty are of this. They all group up, put the shield down on Obvious first, just in case Tyradus is sat right behind that wall to take out one member instantly. And End Faculty are looking cautious once again, and I like that here, being one game away from the second round of the LCS expansion tournament. Dragon time is on the cards for End Faculty. 3 members around. Lucian will be joining the fight, but check out the mid lane push here from Tricked at the same time.
Yeah, Trick don't seem to care. They're going to give this away for free. Mouth, ooh, he tried to come steal it and was forced to flash back out to safety. But Tricked, while they are pushing mid to counter it, aren't pushing it very hard and aren't pushing it with very many numbers. And as a result, have to turn tail and run once in fact decided to come back towards the lane. So Trick gave it up, didn't take anything from it.
I feel like Tricked aren't doing the same as End Faculty with regards to their mindset around that Baron. Tyradus is way out on his own here, but does still have his ultimate. End Faculty are playing this as if it's a standard game now at 24 minutes when they're ahead. Tricked seem very scared to actually do anything around End Faculty's jungle, and you can see that by the vision. End Faculty have all of the river warded and most of the bottom side as well. But then you take a look here at Tricked's vision. They pretty much have no vision on anything that their enemy are doing.
They've just got to wait for Tricked to come, End Faculty to come to them, to open themselves up. They aren't going to do that. 30 seconds on the Baron, and to be all fairness, despite what I just said, End Faculty are in and around the area. They don't have too many walls to place down, but with the way that Tricked are playing, it wouldn't be too challenging for End Faculty to pick up the Baron on the next respawn. They can see exactly where Tricked are coming from, and at the very least they could bait them in using it. And with Babunia being such a null factor down here against Xaxus, he can just shrug off everything Xaxus is doing. They both have the teleports, and when it comes to these team fights, still all that Babunia really has is health.
Man, it would be a big surprise to get a second Baron this early on in this game, though. That is something that I will say. It would take a massive oversight from Trick to actually let a second Baron go without a fight. And you see the bottom lane has disengaged as well. And this is a patient man's game. But that also does not really help Tricked's lineup. They have a mid-game team which will start to fall off.
Bar Mundo.
Yes, of course.
The only thing, though. And if that's what they're banking on, if that's why they're happy playing this so slow and patiently, that's the wrong call. Yeah.
I mean, they've reached the damage spike. Deathfire Grasp, Void Staff on Ari. The Sorcerer's Boots have now been picked up on Corki, so he is still pretty strong in these team fights, but Trick just don't really want to engage anything here. They are more comfortable to just sit back.
They are comfortable getting wards. You can see now that End Faculty are just covering the entire river side of the map with wards, just getting a complete line of vision across the middle of the map, and they're going to decide what to do from there. Still 4 turrets to 2. There's just the 2 left up in the tier 2 middle and bottom lanes. They really can't get close to that bottom one because of Mundo right now. And now that End Faculty have decided the only way they're going to either draw Tricked out or gain another kind of advantage is something around this Baron. They've taken away the vision, and they're looking to try and bait Tricked in. Hiding in the bushes, looking for that opening, just dropping a couple of wards through, waiting for one person to step 1 foot wrong.
This ward, however, has spotted End Faculty go in that bush, and then they haven't really seen them come out of it. So they haven't seen them head to Baron. They know they're either going to be in one of these bushes. And
they've also got a ward right on the edge of the Baron pit, too, which is just showing the entrance. So the 2 that are covered are the perfect 2 for Trick to have still alive.
Exactly. They know End Faculty had just sat in one of the bushes there. And this is just going to be a waiting game. I mean, End Faculty currently are ahead and are not forcing their advantage. Now they choose to. But this ward, they thought they've cleaned everything out. Now Trick know they've got to go. End Faculty are going to disengage. The bubble does land, but they don't want to follow up.
There's a lot of damage taken by Lucian there just from the Baron itself, so they have to back away quite a bit. Now that ward does die and they realize why they were spotted, but Tricked eSports playing that very, very nicely, knowing they can't give that up, have to come in and do something about it. And, well, Babunia and Zazas are disengaged slightly too because of it. They wanted to make sure they still had that teleport available without getting each other's weight. We've got 2 minutes on the Dragon though. We saw Faculty grab the last one completely for free. Do they go down there and go for the next one for free, or do Trick actually do something about it?
So Faculty may actually force a fight here if they spot Corki on the ward that is just to the side of the Wraith camp. Luckily, China's going to head away from that, so Trick aren't going to get caught out anytime soon, but we saw this in game one.
Faculty are being sneaky over the backside of the wall, making sure they dodge every
the ping's gone down.
Yeah, there is a ping on that, but they can see people mid. Are they still?
They just recalled.
They're seeing people mid, and they're using that as a chance to get vision, but they're going to find two people in the pit. Jarvan has to flash away.
Gone.
Lucian's got nothing. He gets crescendoed in the pit. Will flash out himself, but the Baron's already reloaded. Shockwave on 2. Down goes Lee Sin. They're going to focus now onto Sona. Irelia exhausted, but it doesn't matter. She's going to chase onto Tyrannus, but in the rest of the pit, Babunia is exposed, and 4 members of Faculty are on top of him. He's got Sadism running and is trying to get out. The knockup won't land. He has got a slow. He may just have made it out to safety, but Irelia's coming around on top. Does she have enough to collapse onto him? Gets the reset onto the creeps, slows it down. The rest of the team come up close. Bubble lands from Nami. They're on Babunia, and he will fall. As
he takes him with him.
He takes Lucian with him. Gets a 3-for-1 fight. But wow, Faculty chased that a long way.
Oh man, they committed hard to that, and I thought they might have had that backfire on them when they started the Baron. Are they really? They can't really go for Baron.
Not with Ari,
so
Corki, and Sona still up. And Lee Sin had also just respawned. They chased that for so long.
Can Trick push from this though? That would be the next best play, would be to rush down this mid inner and just get a wave into the turret and deter them as well. But the better play with 15 seconds on the timer is head down to that Dragon. You know they're heading back to their base, and Maweth is here pretty soon as well. So the fight went away from Tricked, but they are going to regroup with a Dragon of their own. It will close somewhat of the goal difference, but here's the question. Do Faculty realize this is coming and call their bluff and head for Baron again?
I don't think they're going to make that same mistake a second time around.
No.
They tried that sneak once and are tricked while they didn't have a true vision or whatever. They're going in there for wards of their own. Caught Faculty out. Now they realize they lost the Dragon for it as well. So they have to be regrouped back up, plant the wards back because they lost them all. They were all timed out from where they were down before. Well, they've lost a little bit of their gold lead too. It's down to 4,000. But 2 kills to 7 at 30 minutes. Ultimately, you look at that and you think this has been a bit of a slow game, but we've had so many fights where people are just getting out on the slivers of HB, just getting little bits of nothing. It's been climactic, but they just can't quite land that last little bit of damage.
And we're back to the stalemate, but Babunia wants to fix it.
He walks straight into them. He's going to get Cataclysm. Sadism will get you out of that, but
that's a
he
lot of
turns and runs from there and has so much health left. Cataclysm actually stopped a lot of the damage because Lucian couldn't quite hit him, but still, it's a Sadism down. It's a lot of health missing on the big tank for Tricked, but thankfully for them, Faculty had to spend so much trying to kill that Mundo that the rest of Tricked could pressure mid and stop Faculty getting anything more than they already had.
We are back, however, to somewhat the Baron dance. It's both teams, luckily, are going to just dissipate from the area completely, but Faculty always have that on their cards. They are ahead, and they are looking to just take any objectives. They haven't really wanted to pressure turrets anytime soon, and it's due to their somewhat short-range team composition. You look at Orianna's great on a defensive siege because you want to throw out the ball and dissonance in front of you, but sieging turrets up is very difficult. You have to push up and push past the turret to lay the ball down for a good shockwave, whereas the defensive team kind of will just sit back very comfortably. Tyrannus gonna find Obvious.
Face checks into Obvious, does get knocked up, has to use the Spirit Rushes away to get out of there. And Faculty know they can't chase that any further, but he's still got 2 charges. Now that they're letting it time out, they're looking to try and collapse onto him. They find Maweth instead, but he jumps over the wall and disengages. Tricked just getting on the edge. And Faculty got to be careful they don't blow too much in some of these chases.
They have been using a lot, but I think this is the call that they needed to make. They've realized that they have the position on Tricked here to head to that mid lane turret and get in position to set Orianna up between the 2 turrets. So this is the position they needed, and that is going to break somewhat of the stalemate.
Only Babunia there to try and defend it. 1 quick turret pickup and a rotate away from Faculty, completely cleaning the enemy jungle out of Red Buff and Wraith Camp, and probably the Golems on their way to bottom too. Question now is, do Trick get there in time to defend the bottom turret? They sent Maweth on his own. Now they're bringing everyone else down here, but Faculty are still in the middle of the jungle, undecided on where to head yet. creeps arrive and they do hit that bottom lane turret. Trick should be there and able to defend this one around. They've got the numbers, but they just don't seem to care about pushing Sidonia away and give it up.
And Faculty finally break the 2 turrets, but that's how difficult it's been to siege inner turrets. We've already seen in this series how difficult it is to break Tricked's inhibitor turrets. This is a very reminiscent setup for game number 1, where we were at this point into the 45 minutes, where Trick just played defensively, fell back, wave cleared, and punished N-Faculty for their mistake. And you have to think that's playing on the mind of N-Faculty as a team right now, because if that happens again, N-Faculty are out of the running for LCS.
Lots of blue wards down and around the Baron pit right now, but there's lots of red players approaching it, so they're going to try and win back some vision control. But again, there's a couple of cheeky wards in place for Trick that were spotting out Faculty before, but they're onto Babunia, has to pause Stadium, 2-man knock-up around the side, and a Cataclysm, but a great crescendo where it all hits 3 people from Nico. They are all incredibly low, but the damage is a bit split. They're looking for Jarvan trying to get onto Sona, but he's got no help there. Lee Sin comes in, still no casualties, but both teams a little bit split focusing and ultimately didn't want to split up too fast. So they back up and fight to another day, live to fight another day.
I feel like Tricked will be happy, but Flash!
Jarvan goes in, gets the knock-up onto Babunia, but immediately kicked back again, hitting up 2 more for the knock-up. And Faculty have to go back towards the Baron without too many more abilities. That flash down, they're going to engage it here.
They're in real disarray here going towards the Baron. They wanted to engage, and the call was obviously made to stop. Tricked are too close, but are they going to catch Tyranids?
They want Tyranids. They're going to try and get in top, and they do very easily now that he doesn't have Spirit Rush. That was a simple kill for Aurelia. Now there's only 4 members of Trick left to defend. Jarvan goes in again trying to catch Babunia, but now he's out of mana for another combo. They are going to try and take out some wards as they fall back. Lucian's life stole his way back up to full health. Aurelia very similarly too. They still can't quite take the Baron itself, but they so clearly want to.
They really do want to take this Baron, but they are going to have to fall away. And Faculty just do not have the confidence to take it. And take a look, mid lane, again, Tricked at the tail end of that fight, are already pushing mid lane in just to give N-Faculty a distraction here. And Babunia is getting tankier and tankier, and what do you do to a late game Mundo? He is going to run rampant through these team fights, given the time to do so. And Faculty have to come up with an answer to that fairly soon.
They are up by 8,000 gold still, which is fluctuating forwards and backwards throughout the course of the last 10-15 minutes. They've grabbed 1 turret in the last 15 minutes. That's how Tricked have just dug in. Sorry, 2 turrets, it was 4, so long ago. But that's now stuck them on the inhibitor turrets, and as you mentioned before, getting past those is incredibly difficult, especially with the team that N-Faculty have. Yes, they can go in and charge and they go deep, but once you've used those first few abilities, you can see it there. Sticking onto a Corki Varric, sticking onto Ahri Spirit Rushes backwards is incredibly hard, and when you're doing that under a tower that's wailing away at you the entire time, Tricked are easily going to come out well off in one of those fights. So it's a very, very risky dive if in fact you want to take it. So other than that, they've just got to sit there and try and out-wave clear Ahri and Corki.
I'm getting a very serious case of deja vu in this game. This is game number 1 all over again. That the only reason Tricked is anywhere outside of their base right now is because Baron is still live and available. They don't care so much about Dragon. It's only a little bit of gold and they are behind already. It's all about getting caught with those death timers. If they push out, manage to get a pick, they can take the Dragon very comfortably, but lose a fight, and Tricked, from being behind, are almost certainly going to lose this series 2-1. It is still all to play for, though, because we've seen Tyranids pick people time and time again. If he can line it up and pick up another kill at the start of a team fight, this could be great for Tricked.
As if to emphasize your point, free Dragon goes over to N-Faculty. Yeah. Trick just let it on go while they're trying to dance around and keep an eye on the vision here at the Baron. Lucian pushes the top lane out again to keep some pressure up there. Mid lane being pushed back again the other way by Ahri, Sin and Corki. A couple of wards being taken out by Babunia, but they've actually started the Baron again. Now they're going down in onto Mundo, trying to put as much damage onto him as possible. He has to pop the sadism once more, and that's all N-Faculty seem to want. As soon as it happened, they turn back and head towards the pit again. Make sure they don't get out-positioned or lose too much vision.
Oh, China!
Looking for Corki, but he does Valkyrie back over towards the mid lane. And they start losing vision at the other end to Mundo again. There's nice play from Trick, dancing in and out one direction and the other, clearing out pink wards, clearing out green wards as quick as they can, then turning and running away. But it's a very, very dangerous game that they're playing.
The last Baron in this game was 20 minutes ago from Faculty, and ever since they have looked completely uncomfortable with the situation. They're trying to engage on Babunia again and again, but
wow, they're using the Cataclysm on it. Yes, he doesn't have Sadism anymore, so they're going to go very, very deep, chasing this as far as they can. Nami ult used on him as well. Crescendo hits all 5, but Mundo will still fall. Now Sona's exposed, and she's the next one to go down. They've got a lot of move speed boosts, and they're going to try and chase onto Corki and Ari. Gonna give it another shot. Irelia goes in, gets onto Corki, can't get onto Ari any further, has to switch up to Lee Sin. Lucian's coming forward, can he get to the end?
Oh, the
yes,
damage!
He does, but Ari's around one side with the Spirit Rush. DFG goes off, and Lucian will fall. But there's still a 3-for-1 exchange in favor of Faculty.
Tyrannus has to clear top lane right now. If he doesn't, Xazus.
Xazus is going deep. Tyrannus has no mana. One more ultra attack's all he's going to need. He's charmed under the turrets. Here it comes. The regen's there. And now Maweth comes back. He does get in there and prop the Guardian Angel. But Sol's perfect and mountain a hit to try and protect him under the tower.
Faculty just are committing to these fights and hadn't really steadied themselves in front of a turret right now. Finally, they get the time to. The Baron is still alive, but they've cracked the inhibitor shell. This is going to be the first inhibitor of the game going down, and I don't think Maweth really has enough to do this.
Does just dance in for the minions. He's looking for the respawns. Mundo's back up. Ari's got a lot of mana back from the fountain. A quick slow, maybe all is needed. Nico's still chasing the teleport behind. Babunia's there, but the shockwave and the slow are there as well. Slow onto Sol's Perfect after a flash from Nico. They're chasing this very, very hard. Babunia lands a cleaver onto Sol's Perfect, but he gets stunned up by Irelia again. Another cleaver onto Sol's Perfect. They're still trying to chase onto with Faculty. Lee Sin kicks him back in. Orianna gonna get nuked down by Ari, and Tricked might have just grabbed the opening they were looking for.
Tricked can turn now. Sol's Perfect has such a big amount of damage that is reliant for the team fight of Faculty that Tricked, are they going to start? This Sunfire Cape will start it off for them. They have no choice now but to stand in front of this Baron. Faculty have to fight, and they are still heavily damaged from the last fight. Look at Mountain.
Everyone's caught in the pit. Cataclysm catches 3 members, but so does the Crescendo. But the Baron disadvantage is huge, and Faculty are dropping low.
They've done it!
3 members either way. 3 members dead for Faculty, and Tricks are coming out with just the 1 casualty, keeping the Baron engaged as well. They've just won themselves the fight.
They have, but Cedric is so high health and has so much damage that he can pick up the tail kills from this fight. But where's he going? He's going straight to the middle lane, and he, unless he heads to the bottom, is going to get cut off here. All he's trying to do is just completely stop any kind of initial push here from Tricked Esports. But my goodness, Tricked once again, when they're down to it, have taken a Baron fight and maybe have solidified a comeback in this game.
I was scared for a little bit there. The Tricked were chasing that far too hard in the top lane, but every time they threw something out, they caught it onto Sol's Perfect. Then in fact, we would throw something back the other way, and they just catch him again. And as soon as they blew that Orianna up, they knew what they wanted. They made that quick decision to get in onto the Baron, and that's what they've kind of had over in Faculty almost for the whole series. While they may not have made the best decisions, while they may not have always done the right thing, well, they've all done it. They've all done it quickly, and they all stuck to it in a very short amount of time. And sometimes that's all it takes.
Their team play has been, I would say, better than Faculty's. When you look at their warding that Tricked have established in the early game, their committal to fights when they've actually needed to, and their passiveness when it comes to defending has been, you know, what you'd expect from a top challenger team. So Tricked very certainly showing us that, okay, they were a Nordic East team, but they were the top Nordic East team. However, Babunia, as we've seen his praises.
He has popped his sadism and is trying to run, but the Ignite's there this time around. He's going incredibly low, and Lucian does so much that he's not getting away this time over. We saw it in the last couple of games too, though. He did it as Maokai. He did it as Malphite. Went that little bit too far out, got killed once or twice, and then decided, all right, I should probably stop doing that. Why have you not realized that you should probably stop doing that in every game?
Is it too late now for that?
He's got very well be.
48 seconds left on.
Oh, charm his Lucian! That saved the day even more for Trick.
Shockwave misses!
The Shockwave misses completely, and she has to Zonya's in the middle of their team. The Crescendo is there to finish her off, and with Orianna and Lucian dead, Trick lived to fight another day yet again.
Oh, right down to the bottom of the barrel, and Tyrannus pulls out another beautiful charm. They are going to hold that top lane push as well. And my goodness, Tricked are letting this go right down to the wire.
I would like to take back everything I said after the last game about Tyrannus on Ari. He's playing very, very well. He's landed far more charms this game and is really doing work to keep his team into this.
Yeah, I agree with you. This matchup, the Ari-Ori matchup, has gone far better this time for Trick. Trick do not care about Dragon still. That's only a little bit of gold. Let's get some map control here with the mid lane rush here. Inhibitor should be up fairly soon. Trick are going to find themselves in front of an inhib turret.
Yeah.
They're going to face tank because the recalls are only just coming out.
They should grab this inhibitor themselves pretty easy, but they do have to be careful on those respawn times. 7 seconds and 11 seconds.
Oh,
the inhib is up, and with a nice little movement speed from Orianna, they can just get Sona, they can just get straight back down and out the lane. That is a really nice response from Tricked eSports.
A great response, and the gold gap right now, only about 5,000 gold. Take into account the Baron stats as well. And Tricked have pretty much tied this game up. An inhibitor apiece is open in the base. Baron is going to time out soon, but how do N Faculty deal with Babunia when Babunia is not overextending?
When he's in the team needs to rely on Babunia. If he doesn't overextend again, they are in a very, very strong position. But we've seen it, even before he overextended that bottom lane. The Baron fight, before that Orianna got caught out. What were N Faculty trying to do? You jump on Babunia, make him blow sadism, back off. Jump on Babunia, kill him because he's got no sadism. You just need to make sure that next time N Faculty do that, the rest of Tricked are there and ready to punish them for it. That's what they've been doing for like the last 25, 40, 25, 30 minutes.
You could say an hour. We're
Numbers.
nearly that far in.
Long time.
It has been a long,
what they've been doing all
series.
game is trying to focus on Babunia and get rid of that big tanky Mundo. If you're there to punish them afterwards, however, they blow so much in trying to do it that it's going to be a very, very fun fight for Tricked, and now they have that Baron too. So quick rotate from them, seeing if they can get onto this top turret, but N Faculty are there waiting for them. They still, however, have that Baron. Do N Faculty do what we saw them and Tricked do for this and the last game? Give up these tier 2 turrets and just drop back to defend onto the stairs, onto those inhibitor towers, which are far easier to look after.
This game is not worth losing over an inner tower. That is plain and simple. They're setting up the engage, though. Obvious has that shield on him, the ball in tow to look for that shockwave, but the positioning here from Trick, look at how far they're spread between each other. Mouth is waiting to come over the wall. Yes, he's on a ward, but that just makes it even more obvious that N Faculty can't engage this. They back away, the setup is not there, and Tricked will take another objective, but mid lane, look at what they're having to declare.
That's another reason why they had to back off from the turret, and even in the bottom lane there's a big wave of creeps too. They may have backed off too far as Tricked start to get half of their health off this top inhibitor turret completely for free.
It's a matter of time.
More creeps coming straight up mid now. Bottom turret is probably going to fall to those minions, and the Baron is up in a minute and 30 seconds. There goes that tower. They take down another wave of creeps. Super creeps. That inhibitor will come back up in, I think it's about less than a minute now, my memory serves. But there's another wave of creeps coming in. Wards are being taken down by both sides, and we're looking for that opening charm. Lucian is a long way forward at the moment. Sol's Perfect, of course, has got to be there for the wave clear, but Tricked realized that while, yes, they won the last fight, while, yes, they've had a good couple of moments here, they are still very, very even and are also playing very, very safely, far out and away from the engages that N Faculty could throw.
Tricked still have to play the patient game, and they can't get caught out by the team fight. Yes, N Faculty are on the back foot here in their own base,
that
but
bottom lane turret is engulfed in minions.
It is. Let's take a quick look at that. Oh, wow, the damage that's been done to that turret already. And here maybe signals the push up into the top lane.
Going in, Zazas deep on Babunia, taking a lot of damage. He's facing the turret down. Jarvan goes in the backside, doesn't get the knockup, but does get the Cataclysm. Shockwave only hits Babunia. There's so much damage being returned on him. Faculty, they have to turn and run as they realize without that shockwave damage, it's incredibly hard for them to win a fight right now. They do lose that bottom turret, and now that's 2 exposed inhibitors they've got. Tricked are happy with that.
It's
three,
all
sorry,
three.
It's all 3, and they got that tower.
The mid one fell already, 20 seconds until the Baron. The pressure is already on from the inhibitor, and the vision has...
Oh, they know she's there.
The vision has all but been dropped. Pretty much that ward flashes out away, and Zazas... Man, this game is really on a knife edge right now. The next Baron fight will decide who advances to round 2 and who is remaining in Challenger this season. They're trying to recall here as obvious, maybe looking to set up a fight, but they don't really have the vision to get in.
into that opportunity. Faculty were hard pushing down that mid lane as soon as they realized their base was safe for a while. Tricked thinking about trying to stop them because need that perfect positioning and haven't been back to shop in quite a while after getting that 3 towers during the course of that siege. They've got a lot of, or had a lot of gold that they've just been able to spend. Does mean they sacrifice a lot of the vision control here around the Baron though, but with the abilities they've got, they'll come back out, try and bully Faculty off shortly. So far, though, we in fact see Babunia split again, taking a bit of punishment, but this time he doesn't need to use his sadism. He'll regen that health back pretty rapidly, even without his ultimate. But Faculty have the superior positioning. They're going to start in onto the Baron
itself. Be a mistake.
But everyone from Tricked is nearby. They're now going to tank that up through this whole fight. They're trying to get out of the pit. And even in Tricked are looking to disengage, popping that move speed boost, popping that coin to get on out. But if Faculty have the positioning here, they go straight up mid.
Trick don't want to fight because take a look at how much gold they have on their lineup. This is a very this is a very precarious position for them. If they shop, which they have just been seen to do, and Faculty can go for the Baron.
They are dancing with them back and forth. They use all their move speed boosts and everything to get in there as quick as possible. The Baron is down to half health already. Babunia is here.
To be seen.
Ari is here. They're so far away. The Baron goes down and Jarvan will pick it up, but the Crescendo hits 3 inside the pit. Sona's being focused. Lucian will pick her up first, but now the rest of Tricked have arrived and they've caught off Ariana in the middle of the pit. The exhaust goes on Shockwave. Shockwave hits Lee Sin. Xaxus is doing massive amounts of work. Lee Sin will fall. That's 2 down in Tricked eSports. In Faculty now looking to trace onto Babunia. He's a big tanky Mundo, but they've got the slow and they've got all 5 members. The bubble will land and that's his death sentence. Tricked eSports lose 3 and in Faculty are looking to end the game.
But is this going to be over? Take a look at the top lane. Shiner is looking to push. No, that is the better option. Corki cannot outpush this many people. That is a full
In fact,
team.
we weren't sure. They did send back Irelia, and now she's teleporting back to help the rest of them out. That's the inhibitor turret in the middle going to drop pretty rapidly. The inhibitor itself stands no chance whatsoever. Ari and Corki had a lot of wave clear, but they've got 2 Nexus turrets to help them out. Can they get through the minions and in Faculty quick enough? Xaxus still has his Guardian Angel, but does catch a charm. Gets the stun onto Tyranius. He's going to get nuked. First turret will fall. Just Shiner left up, but he's fighting Lucian 1v1 as the second turret goes down. Down goes Shiner. Down goes the Nexus. In Faculty take this series 2-1.
Oh, what a turnaround, friend Faculty. It was so close for Tricked. It looked like a repeat of Game 1 once again. But then Faculty shut the hopes of Nordic East's top team. But my goodness, they didn't make that easy.
They did not. Tricked put up such a hard fight in both the first and third games. They're right at the end, holding on for dear life. White Knuckle all the way through. They keep all the right decisions here, all the right decisions there, and ultimately, and Faculty grab that one opportunity, that quick dance backwards and forwards between the Baron pit and their base, and jump on it. Jump on that chance at the 50-minute mark.
Man, it was all that buy timing. Having 2,000 gold on champions that need those final late-game items, they had managed to regain so much ground on End Faculty that Tricked felt like they were in a comfortable position, but End Faculty knew they had the time. They knew they had enough damage to rush down the Baron, and from there, the fight that followed was a fairly easy mop-up.
So, again, I need to calm down a lot after that one. 2-1, and Faculty will advance through to next week's round 2 game.